What is going on, YouTube? Not Morans here, and in this video today we're going to be going over how to optimize your controller for Fortnite. We're going to be going everything from Deadzones, trigger stops to linear versus expo, so it's going to be something that you're going to want to stick around and watch if you are a controller player. Don't want to take up too much of your time, but if you like the video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. It helps me out a bunch, and if you're really trying to help my channel, watch the video till the full end. It helps so much for that YouTube algorithm that I'm really trying to promote and get this channel a little bit more public than it has been so far. So without further ado, guys, we're gonna get right into the video. Alrighty, YouTube, number one, starting us off, this is going to be how to optimize how you're gonna hold this controller. Now, I play with the Xbox Elite controller, right? So you got the 4 paddles on the back, and then you got the triggers. I think the best thing to do right now is going to be this right here, where you sort of play with 2 down here, another 2 right here, and then you play these right here. All right, so you're going to have your middle fingers on the triggers and your right and left pointer fingers on the right and left bumpers. I think that is sort of, the best way right now, because then you can hit all your different edit buttons. You can have everything without really taking your fingers off the thumbstick, any of that kind of stuff, and you're going to be able to hit all your building pieces at one point without sitting here and then having to go up and sort of reach around with that. All right, so that is the first tip. Let's move right on to the second. Now, the second tip is my thoughts on Kontrol Freaks. So those are what is essentially right here. It is this little outer covering that sits on top of that joystick, and it's just essentially to get more of a finer, more pristine movement. Because if you sit here, your hand is sort of controlling this, you can get a finer movement, rather than if your hand was lower to it, you'd have to put in, it's going to be like a more evenly distributed pressure in order to get that, sort of movement that you're really going to need in Fortnite if you want to be sort of like top tier, because you need to hit your edits more consistently. Okay, moving on to the next tip. Now we're going to start getting to the in-game stuff. The next tip for controller players is going to be your dead zones. So let's take a quick look-see here right now in my settings. Let's go all the way down to where the dead zone tab is. Oh, it's over here on this one, my bad. Okay, so it's going to be right here. I do recommend having the right stick dead zone on 5, and the left stick dead zone you can sort of put whatever you're comfortable with. I'm using 10, but you don't really have to stick to that. What a dead zone is essentially the input that you're going to get from pushing on your stick. So with a higher dead zone, you're going to have to push your stick a little bit further for it to full lock. With the lower dead zone, you can set it at like a lower setting, and you could move your stick slightly, and then it's going to get to full lock quicker. It just helps out a lot. It helps out a ton with consistency in this game, guys. All right, so putting your dead zones as low as possible is the best thing to do. If you are getting stick drift, just sort of up it to the point where you don't get stick drift anymore. That's what to do with those. And another tip is making sure that aim assist is turned on. I can't tell you how many times people have actually accidentally sort of turned off their aim assist. No idea really how it happens or how it works. I'm sure it's on by default by all the controller players, but some people do not have their aim assist on, and then set this all the way up to 100%. Okay, now the next one that I wanted to share with you is the confirm edit on release option. Okay, now I do have sort of like a weird theory with this in a sense. This is going to be really ping dependent. So if you're a newer player and have good ping, then you can put confirm edit on release. If not, I'd recommend using the triple edit binds like I have. All right, triple edit binds are faster. That has been documented in a lot of videos, but if you are newer to the scene, then confirm edit on release might be the thing for you, as it requires one less of the controller buttons. Another tip for this, if you are using confirm edit on release, is that you can't have this sort of movement right here while still holding down whatever your edit button is. So right here, I'm not holding anything at the current time, and I can sort of move freely, and then whenever I want to confirm, I'm just going to hit the right bumper. With confirm edit on release, you're going to have to hold whatever your select button is until you release it, and then whenever you release that button, then it's going to go. So not having confirm edit on release makes things just a little bit easier, a little bit more free. Now, another tip for you, if you are playing on a regular controller, whether that is like an Xbox controller, PS4 controller, whatever the heck you're using, Make sure that you have your bind set up so that you never really have to take your hands off the sticks. All right, that is going to be possible with a regular controller, and you don't have to play claw. Okay, so I would recommend binding like a jump button or something like that onto the left stick, and then maybe your edit button onto the right stick. Whatever really feels comfortable with your hands, that's what I would use. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials about binding these and what you can do to bind them in the best manner for you, but I just wouldn't try and have some sort of like bind scheme that's going to take your hands off the sticks. All right, keeping your hands on the sticks is really, really important, especially right now with cross-play and competing with PC players and whatnot all the time. It's just going to be a lot better if you have those binds optimized. If you do have an Elite controller or any kind of controller with paddles and you are using 4 paddles, I do recommend looking at my best binds video. I have not changed these binds ever since I've had them. It makes it so I can triple at it pretty darn easily. I will link that up at the top, right there on the top right, and if you want to go check it out, you can go check that out. Good video right there. And another tip is going to be use trigger locks. All right, there is like makeshift ones of these that you can use. There is certain controllers that you can buy that have the trigger locks installed on them. Essentially what a trigger lock is, it's something that you don't have to push down your triggers all the way to full lock for it to register the trigger movement. I have these on my Elite controller. They're little like green buttons in the back that you push, and it enables the trigger lock function. These are huge. They're going to be a game changer in terms of speed because you won't have to push your trigger down all the way to full lock anymore. I remember I felt like a whole new player when I turned these on. So that is something to look for. And if you don't have something with trigger locks, like an actual controller that has trigger locks on them, you can do some sort of makeshift ideas. Just look around, I'm sure you'll find something. Now, another topic I wanted to get into was linear versus exponential. Okay, I'll show you where you go to those real quick. This is the linear tab. I do use linear, and exponential you'll be able to get if you just tick to like the right over there. Linear is a more fine movement, more geared toward getting things that's very similar to PC player movement. That's what I found. If you want to be like a tunneler on your team or something like that, I would recommend linear because it is like a really smooth movement and it locks out really, really nicely. But on the other hand, exponential is more like if you're playing a Call of Duty game and you're used to Call of Duty, that kind of stuff. That is where using an exponential kind of stick will help you out. Exponential is going to be geared toward more like fine motor movements. It's a lot better for aiming medium to long distance with exponential is a lot better than linear, and you do get a little hike and aim assist, so I have heard, in longer range distances from using expo. Haven't tested that out, but Upshaw put a pretty good video up about that pretty recently, and I believe what that guy has to say. He's a pretty good guy. If you're more so a player that likes to get in people's boxes for the most part, exponential is going to be the thing for you because the close range shoddy and other things for getting in people's boxes is going to be a lot better with that. Now, another tip that I have for you on controller is going to be using your upping your sensitivity higher every time you play. All right, or at least trying to up your sensitivity to play with a higher value than before. Higher value sensitivity players, in theory, if you can control it, will always be better than a lower tier sensitivity player. You have the quicker movements, they're going to not be as fast reacting. Their reaction time is going to be a lot slower. So it's going to be really good in that aspect for you to use. And the final tip right here is getting better at close range shotgun fights. This game is predominantly close range shotgun shot dependent. So if you can't handle yourself in a shotgun fight close distance, you're not going to really be that great in this game. Most of the fights that you do get in, you ramp rush up on someone and then you are sort of sitting there in a sense waiting to push that person. And the gun that you're going to use in most situations is going to be the shotgun. So I would really recommend prioritizing close range shotgun fights. There is a lot of good shotgun fight practice maps out there. You'll just have to look them up. You can find a bunch. The piece control one that I always link to is pretty good as well. But that is going to be it from me. If you enjoyed this kind of stuff, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out a bunch.